I'm Connor Roll, and this is Old Oscar Countdown, and here we are. The Oscar nominations have come out. I've predicted them. I posted my Oscars nominations reactions. I ended up with about a 94 out of 122, which is about like a 78%. Did well, did better than last year. Really surprised with some of the nominations. Like I said in that video, just a quick update. You know, Phantom Thread doing so well. Martin McDonagh. You know, how is this going to change the Oscar race? Well, I'm going to tell you here in this video. I'm going to do a little bit of an unorthodox way, different than last year, where I'm going to do just different topics throughout these next 5 weeks, including my final Oscar predictions before the Oscars, which happened on March the 4th. But we have a long time. There's a huge month because of the Olympics, because of other things. It's actually extended the Oscars date, which will significantly change things. We saw that with La La Land last year. I think that if La La Land, the Oscars were 2 weeks earlier, La La Land would have won easily. But because that backlash started to build and there was a long enough time, and it was because it was such a big phenomenon, of course backlash is going to happen, and it went to Moonlight instead. That's just a little bit of a problem. With the movie and the Oscar race, it's something you have to consider. And I'm going to consider that in this video because this video is all about Best Picture frontrunners. I'm going to go through all the Best Picture nominees and say, could this win, could this not win? What are some pros and cons of both of them? I've got my little notepad here with my notes. I'll just be referring to them, just looking back. And start with my frontrunner, which is different than it was in the Oscar nominations video, which is The Shape of Water. Now, I said La La Land was the easy front runner, and really, you know, looking back on it, people are always like, "Oh, hindsight's 20/20." I still would have picked La La Land. You know, it won PGAs. It didn't get it for SAGs, but it won PGAs, won DJs. You know, a record amount of nominations. People liked it. It was an escapism movie. I still would have picked it any day of the week. And then this year, a lot of people have associated La La Land with The Shape of Water. Shape of Water got 13 nominations instead of 14, but by far the most amount of nominations. It didn't get a SAG Ensemble, but it won PGAs, and it's going to win DGAs. So it's going to be the same trajectory as La La Land. But last year, though, the difference was the clear number 2 was Moonlight, I think. This year, the clear number 2 is up in the air. Is it 3 Billboards? Is it Lady Bird? Is it Get Out? I think that sort of situation will hurt it. So that's the first thing. The Shape of Water got 13 nominations. It got in for director. People think it's going to get in for director. And I think it's one of those years where we see them every few years. Last time we've seen it was Birdman, where the picture and director match. They haven't been doing that recently. They've been splitting. So historically you think if Guillermo del Toro is the front runner for directors, well, then it's going to go to something else. That's different though. You know, it was surprising to see something like SAG Ensemble not get in, but then you look at previous years of SAG, you know, they like Netflix a lot, so maybe it took Mudbound's place. Mudbound got in, you know, same, I remember Beast of No Nation won for SAG Ensemble one year, so it's like very strange in that sense. So you look at that, and I still go by the fact that I think if La La Land was 2 weeks earlier and didn't build up this backlash, it would have won. It was the front runner. It took all the brunt right away and sort of embraced it and eventually ended up hurting it. Shape of Water is different. Shape of Water, the race, it's not really the front runner. It's sort of the quiet front runner that everyone knows is the front runner, but no one's saying it. Plus, I mean, it didn't get SAG Ensemble, but look, you have those 13 nominations. A lot of those are technical. They're not original song twice, or those are score, those are film editing, those are, you know, production design. These are the below the line categories, so it has sort of the meat eaters sort of support, the below the line guys support, definitely. Then it has the acting branch. I mean, it didn't get SAG Ensemble, which is huge. If you don't know about this stat, the last time a movie won SAG Ensemble was 1997 for Braveheart, which was sort of a big deal that it didn't get a SAG Ensemble. So people have been really sort of latching onto that SAG Ensemble stat. You know, it proved us wrong with La La Land last year. Will it prove us wrong again with The Shape of Water? I don't think so, because it still has support in those acting branches. I mean, you look at something like supporting actress. For example, Holly Hunter got out for The Big Sick, but Octavia Spencer, sort of a weaker person in that category, still got in for The Shape of Water. And even, you know, Sally Hawkins and Richard Jenkins, you know, they got 3 out of the 4 major acting nominees. Plus, they got, you know, screenplay and editing. You know, if you look at some of these other ones, they all have a major key thing that sort of undercuts them. The big pro here is that it didn't get a SAG Ensemble. Some predicting things because this race is so far along. If people are just seeing this for the first time or maybe thinking about it, they think The Shape of Water gets 13 nominations. There's sort of like the La La Land syndrome where it feels underwhelming. A movie can't be that good, and The Shape of Water isn't this big bombastic thing. It is sort of like an indie that makes it seem like it's a big budget movie, but it's not. I just found that fascinating, that it could be underwhelming, and then just that hype of those 13 nominations. And the thing is that, here's another interesting fact, is that The Shape of Water, I'm pretty sure, won't win screenplay. And the last movie that didn't win a screenplay award and won Best Picture was The Artist in 2011. So you're looking at a lot of these movies, you know, Moonlight won adapted, Birdman won original. So like there's a lot of these movies where they win best original screenplay and the movie. It's 1 and 1. People always say film editing, at least that nomination is helpful. So I don't think Shape of Water is going to win film editing, but how is this going to play out in my mind? I'm trying to think of it. Could Shape of Water win Best Director and Best Picture? Hard to say. I mean, I could definitely see a scenario for my next pick, which is Lady Bird, where it could do a sort of a spotlight thing, right? Lady Bird, let's say, wins Best Screenplay, and then pulls off, right now, I guess, a bit of an upset for Laurie Metcalf for Best Supporting Actress, and then wins Best Picture. If you look at on hindsight, that's like, oh yeah, it won Screenplay, it was in the Screenplay race, it had an acting award, it's a liked movie, boom, Lady Bird. I still have that sort of feeling that Lady Bird's gonna have those number 2 and number 3 votes, but there are some things that take back from it. I mean, the male audience that are still male members of the Academy won't necessarily vote for it because it is a very female-centric movie. Greta Gerwig recently said in the Hollywood Reporter's Directors Roundtable, a fantastic series I really like, that if a woman came up to her, she would say, "Oh, this is me," or you know, I relate to it. But then the males had an experience that I had, where if they had a sister, they would be like, "Oh, that's my mom and my sister." Or if the husband had a wife and a daughter, they would say, "Oh, that's my wife, that's my daughter." Like, but if it was a boys only sort of household where it was a brother and a dad and a mom, they didn't have that sort of reaction to it. So there is some male connection. I personally had it. It was one of my favorite movies of the year, but that could sort of maybe undercut it. That being said, it is the number 1 movie, I think, in my mind, that's very much akin to the Me Too movement. I think most Best Picture movies feel important. I think if you're looking for a Best Picture underdog, Lady Bird is still there. It's still the universal loved movie. It's still going to be, I think, a lot of people's number 2s and number 3s, but I think those 2s and 3s are so all over the place right now. It's going to be maybe focusing more on top of the number 1s, which I think The Shape of Water will get. It's just hard to see like Shape of Water winning. I mean, okay, yes, it's going to win score. Let's say it wins Best Production Design, and then it's going to win no acting, no screenplay, no editing. For Best Picture winner, that's usually strange. Even something like the artist Jean Dujardin got Best Actor, you know, sort of swept in that movie's love. Hard to say, but we'll see. Let's go back to the Lady Bird. Another con is that Laurie Metcalf. Laurie Metcalf was the frontrunner for supporting actress. No one thought she could be beat, and all of a sudden Allison Janney comes out of nowhere, wins SAG, wins Critics' Choice, wins Golden Globes. It's like, wow. I mean, right now, the acting race, I'm going to be talking about that in next video. It's that Allison Janney, Sam Rockwell, Gary Oldman, and Frances McDormand have not been dethroned. Willem Dafoe was there at the beginning and the early things, but when the industry has showed us what they liked, they've been showing us these 4 same people. So will those 4 transfer to the Oscars? I mean, there's high likelihood, but I think one's going to fall. And I'll talk about that next video, but Laurie Metcalf has been underperforming, and I don't think if she wins at BAFTAs, that's her last sort of hurrah thing. The thing is that she's not campaigning, she's not doing the Oscar round circuit, so it's always hard when she does that. Also, another con would be that there's no technical love for this movie. There's no editing nomination, was crucial. I was at one point predicting editing nomination, but I had to switch it because I knew it wasn't going to happen. And then, you know, you look at something like 3 Billboards, got an editing, got a score, Shape of Water, editing, score, production design, got those technical loves, which is a lot of the Academy, because everyone votes on Best Picture, right? So it's so hard to judge that because it has none of that technical love. Will they vote for it? It's hard to say, but I think that you know, it'd be a surprise because this year is so different. But Lady Bird has some cons to it, has some definite pros. Right now I'm putting in my number 2 slot because I still think if you want to directly relate to that Me Too movement and that movie that feels important, Shape of Water is female focused, definitely, don't get me wrong. But Lady Bird is out and front there, and you know, Greta Gerwig, she got in for director. People think that because she got in for a director and she's not going to win that they're going to give her a screenplay. So then will it be a her type of situation where her wins Best Original Screenplay, I remember. But then, what was it? Was it 12 Years a Slave, I believe, won that year. So You know, you never know. So, but let's go into the next nominee, which is Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. This is a lot of people's number ones, and rightfully so. I mean, Frances McDormand looks like she's going to win. Sam Rockwell will probably win. Woody Harrelson got in for that supporting actor nominee. Sorry, he got Three Billboards. There's a lot of acting love, which is the biggest branch, mind you. Also, it has some technical love. They got in for score. They got in for film editing. These are sort of important things that tell us good things. You know, people didn't think it was going to get in for film editing. You know, and it did. It got out over something like it got in over something like Get Out, which did not, which is sort of an important factor, I would think, because it just shows the strength of that movie throughout the Academy. It's been over-surprising and over-performing throughout the Oscars. But as you all know in my Oscar nominations video, the big surprise really of the night was Martin McDonagh not getting for the DGAs. I was right. I didn't say that in the video, but I was totally right with the DGAs. I said they never go with 5 first-timers. They're going to go with 4 people that were new, which were Guillermo del Toro, Christopher Nolan, Greta Gerwig, and Jordan Peele. I thought that, and I was wondering what the 5th slot, and I was like, I guess Steven Spielberg for the Post. They're not going to go Sean Baker. They're not going to go Joe Wright. They can't do a first-timer. And what do they go with? Paul Thomas Anderson. It's like, oh, you know, maybe I should have known that, but Phantom Thread wasn't doing good at all, so I thought maybe Steven Spielberg, but that stat still holds up. Watch out for that for next year. It's never going to be 5 first-timers. There's 5 first-timers. There's always going to be a guy who's been nominated before who they like and they appreciate. Watch out for that. I guessed wrong in this area, but has love in the acting branch, has love in the technical branch, been overperforming everything, won the Globes, won SAGs, got Martin McDonagh, even though he didn't get in for here, he got nominated at DGAs, you know, got nominated at, well, DGAs, yeah, and so that's important. I think, you know, a possible win for this one is that because Martin McDonagh didn't get in for director, they still like the movie a lot, so he's going to win for screenplay. And yeah, I think just actors, the biggest branch loves it. It has that technical support, but the major con with this is the backlash. There has been backlash in this movie. You're talking about specifically Sam Rockwell's character and him being a racist cop. Now, here's the thing. The backlash is going on right now. Will the backlash sustain for the March 3rd, or will it die down? We don't know necessarily. It's hard to judge right now, but there is a bit of a backlash to people. I think it's more of a divisive movie than people think. I think some people really love it. I think other people think, you know, I have some problems with it. And I think because the branch has sort of been going international, I think that it will affect it. I don't think it's going to win right now. That no director nomination really sort of hit that for me, but you know, there's a comment in my last video. You know, Driving Miss Daisy won recently, or not recently, but the last time. Driving Miss Daisy won with no director nomination. It can happen. It's happened before, especially for Three Billboards, which is not a huge directing achievement. If the actors love it enough and there's some technical support. And like I said with my theories, that there's a lot of 2s and 3s. There's not 1, 2, and 3. There's a lot of those 2s and 3s. And what I mean by that, if you don't know, preferential voting. A lot of the times the movie that wins gets the most 2 and 3 votes when the Academy ranks their decisions 1 to 10. Those 2s and 3s get the most points because a lot of the number 1 movies for people are number 5s in other people's lists. So it divides it that way. This year, those 2s and 3s, that small sort of frontrunner, could be Get Out, could be Lady Bird, could be Three Billboards, right? So I think those number 1s could maybe potentially just overtake it, which in this case might be Three Billboards or might be Shape of Water. Those are the 2 frontrunners for a lot of people, but I still think Lady Bird, watch out for it. If it sort of surprises. Plus, I forgot to mention for Lady Bird, Laurie Metcalf could get in because I Tonya is sort of disappointed, so maybe Allison Janney's support isn't all the way there. Okay, next nominee is Get Out. So those are my big frontrunners. Now I'm just going to go through the rest and say a little bit about each. Pros, you know, someone like Daniel Kaluuya got in, has that sort of rebellious feel. You know, Peele got directing, which is huge. It could win screenplay. It's very smart like that. But some of the cons: no technical love, not even an editing nomination. And you know, sort of in blunt terms, you would say the Black movie won last year, right? So I see this as sort of a Mad Max, where a lot of people love it, but it's not enough love to get in. Plus, it doesn't have any of that technical support. Dunkirk, this is just a big summer hit. It's sort of like a small movie that's, it was a front runner at the beginning, but now it's underrated because I still think it could get in. It's a traditional movie. Nolan's been snubbed before for The Dark Knight and Inception. This is classical Oscar-winning movie. It's the cinematic experience. You know they love it, and it's the technical love. It could win film editing, sound mixing, score. Even it could win a lot of these technical wins, not just get nominated, but win. So this movie, I think, is definitely loved below the line. But you look at something like, oh, it has no acting nominations. Well, don't always be fooled by that. But right now, that's why I'm not picking it. Plus, I also thought it was a divisive movie. I never predicted this to win because I know some people that really loved it, like myself, and really gravitated over it. I thought it was an incredible movie, a visceral experience. And some people were like, it's emotionally cold. So I don't think it plays well on DVDs either. Plus, no screenplay. It doesn't hit, no SAG ensemble, it just doesn't hit those stats. So I'd be surprised if Dunkirk gets in, but Nolan, I think, is a possible upset. We'll talk about that in the next video. Next nominee, Phantom Thread. This was a huge surprise. I'm putting this up just because got in for director, got in for some technical nominations. Like, I think it's going to win costume design. It could possibly win score, you never know. Daniel Day-Lewis's last movie, that could build steam. Sort of Daniel Day-Lewis's movie that he was in never won Best Picture, so they might want to give that a reward to it. And it's just very well liked in the Oscars. You have to remember, these industry awards are different than the Oscars. They liked Leslie Manville to nominate her. They liked PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, to nominate him for director. But, some cons, no screenplay, where Inherent Vice has gone in before. The screenplay branch really likes Paul Thomas Anderson. He didn't get in for there. Plus, I mean, didn't do well at any of the industry awards. No PGAs, no SAGs, no GGAs, and people just may not get into it, or people may not see it. I think the achievement there was just to get nominated. Next pick, Darkest Hour. This has a lot of technical support. It's this rousing British biopic. This never really wins all the time, but this could be a King's Speech here. You never know. I hope it does. I'm a big fan of the movie. Try to think of it now. Yeah, I guess if out of the Best Picture nominees, Darkest Hour is probably my favorite. I just love the sort of overacting and sort of the craziness sometimes that it does, my personal opinion. But no screenplay, no director, no other actresses. You have Gary Oldman, and it was good for him because the movie got in for Best Picture. That will show that his strength is a little more than we thought. Because if Darkest Hour didn't get it for Best Picture, it'd be a little weaker. But it's not even going to win Best British Film. I think the BAFTAs, 3 Billboards is going to do that. So you can even say, oh, the Brits will focus on this one because yes, but also 3 Billboards is a British film, so they're going to split the vote there. So it's not going. I don't think it's going to win. Last two picks, right? Yep, are Call Me by Your Name. Pros, it's going to win adapted screenplay, but the cons, it's just totally fallen off. Michael Stuhlbarg, no Michael Stuhlbarg, no Armie Hammer, no cinematography. And in blunt terms, sort of the gay movie won last year, and it was a front runner at the beginning, but it sort of lost its steam. And even though they've been campaigning hard, people are maybe a little sick of the movie because they've been seeing it since a year now, since January Sundance last year. And my final pick is The Post. I just put this in the last because it totally underperformed. It didn't get score even with John Williams. It didn't get production design. It didn't get a screenplay, didn't get director, so it really underperformed. But they like Meryl. It's a very typical Oscar movie. It's very timely. There's still some strengths to it, but it's just not loved in the Academy. No Hanks, no Spielberg, no screenplay, no score, no production design, no SAGs, nothing. So it should have done well. I thought there was a possibility at the beginning of the season that it would do well, but unfortunately it just didn't. Okay guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to like the video, comment below some of your picks. Next week we're going to be doing possible Oscar upsets, which would be really fun. And anyways, I'm Connor Rold. Check out next video, and until next time, stay tuned.